Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire.
Hello, welcome to the Heat Seekers for tonight. I am Rob. You can find me at RotoHeat on Twitter, and joined by Jason tonight. How you guys doing?
Well, I'm
Doing great.
doing good. Thanks. Yeah.
All right, where can folks find you?
I'm not on Twitter, but I do our funny content on TikTok. So you can find us on TikTok. You'll see my mug videos on there. You guys can also hit me up on Facebook, messages, or tag me on posts, help out anytime.
All right, Jason, how about you?
Hey, yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I run the Instagram account for RotoHeat, and also do my own thing on there. Just find me in the Discord and on Facebook. So.
All right. Well, we want to remind you guys, whether you're watching our live stream or playing it back on YouTube or listening on one of your favorite podcasting platforms, make sure you like and subscribe to the Heat Seekers, and do that with all of the podcasts and live streams in our RotoHeat family. We've got stuff coming at you every night of the week, Monday through Friday, and some more stuff planned, of course, for the season once that gets going. Taking a look at our news and notes, with 2 weeks off, we got quite a list here. Maybe the big one from Dynasty perspective, settling down some of that Derrick Henry sell now window, perhaps. Him signing a 4-year, $50 million extension. Jason, what do you think about that? You think that's going to quiet down all those folks who are trying to tell everybody to sell him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're going to feed him the ball, and it's pretty apparent that, they wanted to sign him after, give him the franchise tag. So I see him having a big year and being productive for sure.
Anthony?
Yeah, I agree. It kind of pops the Darrington Evans balloon a little bit. A lot of people were taking him early in rookie drafts, thinking that, maybe Derrick Henry won't be here long term. But with that getting kind of hammered out, it looks like Derrick Henry's in a good spot. And so, I still think he's a good sell high. His value really can't get any higher than it is right now. But at the same time, if you got to hold on to him, you're going to be pretty happy if he's already on your team.
All right. Yeah. And then, some of our other news that kind of flows together here. The preseason, training camp starting today, people coming by the team facilities, reporting to camp, and also really starting to get that first big wave of player opt-outs. So you get Marquise Goodwin, Devin Funchess opting out, and then they're probably the two biggest names from fantasy perspective. Some other smaller players like Brandon Bolden and that, and they have through, I believe it's Sunday, to opt out. You guys think we're going to see any other, kind of bigger name marquee players opting out this season?
I don't personally think so. I think people think it's going to happen, but, the players want to make money. And so I don't think, they're not going to opt out and lose out on millions of dollars. But with that said, I respect them if they choose to do that. I just don't think we're going to have a lot of big names doing that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There's going to be the guys that want to opt out, and I think the ones that, really wanted to already have. So I think it might be a snowball effect after if guys are contracting, coronavirus and whatnot. But, that's their own precautions that each team's going to have to play, and see what happens from there, So I think they're going to play it by ear mostly.
Yeah, I think so. And then the other part with the preseason and training camp, they're canceling preseason games. Now, they're agreeing to not have those. And I think that's kind of disappointing for me, knowing that this was such a good draft class coming in. I feel like it's going to take some of these guys a little bit longer to develop, probably more at the wide receiver position than anything. And the quarterbacks might struggle a little bit more. And as somebody who in my main league was loaded up with 6 of the top 14 picks, that's kind of disappointing for me that the way 2020 is shaken out. What do you guys think? You think there's any challenges for younger guys or older roster bubble guys Who's going to have the harder time there, do you think?
I mean, I think it's the rookies for sure. I mean, the older veteran guys that are more roster bubble, I think have a much better chance of making rosters than we normally would see. I think a lot of these rookies aren't going to really see much of the field, especially since they're not going to be able to practice in preseason. Gel with the offense and what's what we're focused on here with fantasy is the offense. So I don't know. I really don't see a lot of rookies getting a lot of action, especially early on this year as a result of COVID and canceling the preseason.
Yeah, I agree, big time. I mean, it's all the rookies that's going to affect the most. So these guys are going to, they're going to have a longer time to figure out the playbook and even get phased into the offense. So you're just going to have to wait and see what happens with your rookies. I mean, there's not much else you can do about it because of this virus. So it's taking a toll on the teams, and a lot of the veterans are going to be counted on this whole year, especially to start the year. So
Yeah. And then, the other thing we have written down here is after 6 months, I don't know if he had himself on mute or what was going on, but Antonio Brown came out, retired from the NFL, then came back and said, no, I don't want to retire, but the NFL needs to hurry up and give me an answer. But they've said all along that they won't make a ruling as far as the number of games he's suspended until he's on a team. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, I think as always, if you have him, you just have to hold on to him. I mean, there's really nothing that could happen that would really make me want to just cut him if he was on my roster. So he's a hold. Even after he announced retirement, he's still a hold. I mean, because you never know when he's gonna come back and say, like he did, a day or two later, hey, I want to get back. So he's a hold.
yeah, I agree. I mean, he's not going to. I mean, he's kind of done, in my opinion, but I mean, the guy's still working out like crazy. He's an animal, and he's still got it. So it just depends on if a team wants to take a chance on him. And I don't really see a team really wanting to begin the year, but maybe later on, in like halfway through, they're probably going to look at him if he's still there.
Sure. Yeah, I think you hold him, but I don't. If somebody decides to cut him, I don't think it's that big of a deal. He's probably going to miss 8 games. You'll have a chance to get him in free agency possibly. If you got somebody, depending on how deep your rosters are, shallower leagues, I wouldn't be holding them. I just think roster spots are too valuable. If you play in the good league that's good and deep, then definitely hold them.
Sure.
All right, let's get into our topic. A reminder, as always, if folks have questions and they send them over to us, we'll answer those after we get through today's topic. Today we're looking at the rankings, and we're using our RotoHeat.com 1QB PPR rankings, and looking at the top 20. Well, we'll run through the top 24 guys, but we're really looking at our overvalued and undervalued guys on our rankings, according to the three of us. And so quickly taking a look at those RotoHeat.com rankings, we'll start with the quarterback position, just running through the top 24 guys. We've got at 1, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray at 3, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and then Dak Prescott rounding out the top 6. Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and Aaron Rodgers round out the QB1s on our ranking. Our QB2s, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa, Drew Lock, Jimmy Garoppolo, Drew Brees, Justin Herbert, and Tom Brady. That's on our Dynasty startup rankings there. And, let's jump right into our overvalued and undervalued guys. And, Anthony, why don't you kick us off with your undervalued QB?
Well, thank you very much. My undervalued quarterback on our one quarterback rankings is Jimmy Garoppolo. He's quarterback 21. And, a lot of people think he's older, because he's, started with the Patriots, now he's on the Niners, been to a Super Bowl. but he's only 28, and he just completed his first full season, and he had a pretty good year, I'd say. 69% completion rate, 102 quarterback rating. He was just under 4,000 yards. He had 27 touchdowns. And like I said, this was his first full season. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to continue to improve and get more familiar with their offense. And, there were some games where, he just wasn't asked to throw the ball because of their game plan. But I'm confident that if they're in a situation where they need to throw the ball and if their team is built more for throwing, I think he's shown he can do it. I only expect Garoppolo to get better. Again, he's only 28 years old, and I think at quarterback 21, he's a steal.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think he's where he belongs, maybe even outside the QB2s for me. Again, I just see him as a run-first team, run-heavy team. 476 attempted passes last year. That was 19th in the league. I don't see a scenario with the loss of Deebo Samuel where they're going higher than that. And I don't see the need for them to do that in the future. I mean, they've got most certain Coleman under contract for the next couple of years. They still have McKinnon and Jeff Wilson. They've got the ability to go draft more running backs. They've got very good run blocking offensive line. So I think they're going to continue to roll with the run until teams prove that they can stop that rushing scheme that they have. And as we saw in the playoffs last year, very good defenses during last season could not stop them one bit. Jason, thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo and where he belongs?
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. I think he's about where he's at. I'm not really a fan of the offense as a whole, but overall, Jimmy's just inconsistent in my opinion. And it's hard to trust him. I mean, they're run first for sure, and they're pass second. So I just really don't want him as a quarterback. He could probably be the quarterback too for me, but nothing more.
All right, Jason, who's your undervalued quarterback?
My guy is Matthew Stafford, quarterback 20. I just think he's super underrated right now because he's coming off injury and he's going to come out firing. He was putting up points last year in the beginning of the year, and unfortunately got hurt. So I just see him having a big year with these weapons that they brought in. They got T.J. Hawkinson and Michael Galloway.
Anthony, thoughts on Stafford?
I mean, I think circling back to Garoppolo. I mean, Garoppolo's 4 years younger, so why you would want to have Stafford over, let's say, Garoppolo? I mean, I don't see it. He hasn't. I don't know. He's coming off injury, and was it his back? Didn't he have like a back injury? It kind of scares me. It kind of reminds me of Tony Romo a little bit. It's like once you get a back issue, I don't know. I'm gonna fade a player like that myself. So I mean, I think it's. I mean, I agree. I think he's undervalued. But I mean, I kind of think that what you guys said last time about Garoppolo. I think he's kind of in the right spot, personally.
Yeah. See, I have Stafford higher. I view him as at least kind of that low end QB1 range, kind of where Rodgers and that should be. I think he's got a ceiling to be, a top 5 quarterback, but really around kind of that the back end of the QB1s, early QB2s, that's where I'd have him. And, so I think that would be good. And then, but like Anthony, like you said, the back injury, the broken back, you don't know how you can come back from that. There's definitely some risks there. Yeah. But, I'm willing. I think the upside is high enough for Stafford. And he's young enough at just 28 years old, I believe it is, right? That he's gonna.
No, he's 32.
32 years old. Sorry, I was thinking Matt. I knew he was 4 years younger than Matt Ryan, so I was thinking Matt Ryan was 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at 32 he's still got enough years. I mean, he can still have a decade left if his back is good, and he's proven he can play at a high level. And the weapons around him have never been better. So I think there's a lot of upside there, and he's. Definitely if he's late on the board or somebody's not valuing him and you can get him at a good deal, he's a good good guy to grab a hold of. My undervalued quarterback is Drew Brees coming in at quarterback 22. Now, I know Drew Brees is older. He's getting towards the back end of his career. Definitely, you're not looking at a decade of Drew Brees or anything, but Drew Brees is going to put up good numbers for you. Other than early shoulder injury stuff in his career, he's been pretty solid playing in games. Played in almost every game for the past 16 years. Maybe missing one game a season, and a lot of those, I think, at the end of the year when the teams, a couple of times when they'd missed the playoffs bad year, or they'd already clinched the playoff spot and clinched their seeding. So he sat out a game for the backup to play. I think he's still elite. In just 11 games last year, he threw 400 passes, so you have to imagine he's going to throw another, 200 maybe the last 5 games for them. And obviously coming off his injury last year, he probably didn't throw the same depth. And of course, last year he only had Michael Thomas as he's had. Now he's got Emmanuel Sanders. Also has a healthy Alvin Kamara, which they didn't have for most of the season last year. He was playing kind of banged up. So I really like Drew Brees. Again, his age, he's not going to last you the longest time at 41, but he's still got a good 3 years in him, I think. And that's worth the value to go out and get. And if you're going to get 3 years of a QB1, that's worth it.
I mean, I just don't know if you can really count on that. I mean, 3 years, I don't know. I could see him hanging it up after a season or two. So I think 22, I think it's a little high for me personally. But I don't think it's a terrible pick. I think, but man, I think I'd rather take someone a little bit younger, like Stafford or Garoppolo, who we talked about in that same range, than taking someone who's 40. I don't know. Jason, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I would like him as my QB1, but like you're saying, like if you're going for youth, obviously you want someone else that has more potential and that's going to last longer in the league. Obviously, time is ticking for Drew Brees, but I still think he's elite and he's still got it. So I think the thumb injury really bothered him last year. So I could really see him coming out slinging it to Michael Thomas and all the other crew. So I think it'd be good. So I don't know, if you want to really go by age, then you only got probably 3 years at best. So you're looking at maybe 1 or 2 that are going to be elite, but after that he's probably going to retire.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if he wins the Super Bowl this year, he's done. But I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. So. Yeah. Because the Chiefs basically got better after dominating football last year. So he's got to wait at least until 2021 to win the Super Bowl and retire. And I think that's his goal, to go out on top. But that's just me from a fan perspective. All right, taking a look at our tight ends. Running through we're just going to run through the top 12 tight ends because
No.
Let's be honest.
We have to do the overvalued quarterbacks first. Unless we're going to circle back. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I suppose we could do the overvalueds first.
Yeah.
Skipped right over that. All right, let's do our overvalued. Jason, who you got as overvalued?
I got Drew Lock, quarterback 18. I mean, they brought in a lot of weapons to help him out, but I still think he's unproven. But his ADP has skyrocketed. I really just don't understand that because, I mean, he's off of 3 games. I think 3 or 4 games playing in the league. So I just kind of pump the brakes a little bit and see what you got. But obviously the kid's got a lot of potential. What do you guys think?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that, he's overvalued. The only thing though is, there is a lot of upside, and he's kind of in that range where, if you take the chance, it could really work out in your favor. But it is really risky, and this is really kind of a prove it type of season, because now, I mean, if he doesn't make it work this year, I mean, there's no excuses, right? So, but yeah, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, Drew Lock, I think his buy window was a lot earlier this year into the spring, and really as it got closer to the draft, the hype started to push that ADP up. And then when he came out of that draft with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Albert O Face, whatever, Obudawonukan or whatever the heck his name is. Yeah, who he played with at Missouri, like that, his value just kept shooting up. And so I think you've missed the buy window on him. I think quarterback too, where he's valued, is a good spot where I anticipate him finishing as a QB2 unless he shows immense growth and can vault himself into the QB1 range. I don't see him finishing worse than a QB2 though, given the weapons he has. My second guy is Joe Burrow, who right now is at quarterback 13. And my thought there is, with this preseason, without having preseason games, getting a feel for opposing defenses in the NFL, that's high. I don't think he's going to be a borderline QB1 anymore. I did early in the spring when he first got drafted, but with COVID, things have changed so much. That said, he does have AJ Green and Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, John Ross when healthy. He's got some weapons. Joe Mixon's a good pass catcher. He's got the weapons to definitely do that, but I think if you're drafting him at QB 13 for this season, or thinking he's going to be QB 13 this season, I think that's too high. Overall, though, I mean, he's got the potential to be a QB1. For many, many years in this league. So, it just kind of looks at how you value it. If you're looking at just his value this year for your team, too high. Overall, though, that's a good spot. He's going to replace some of those older guys above him down the road, just not in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. In one QB leagues, which is what we're basing our rankings off of here and in our strategy here, I mean, we can wait for quarterbacks. Ultimately, all of these guys we're talking about are overvalued, even the guys we talked about in the last segment, because you can just wait for a quarterback and get very similar production anyway. So, I agree. With that QB 13 to take Joe Burrow, an unproven asset, I agree 100%. I think the price is too high for an unknown, and I don't see the point myself.
Yeah, the potential is there. The kid's young. He's got the swag of like a Baker Mayfield. So, I mean, they're probably going to throw him to the Wolves here and see what he's got. So he's going to have plenty of opportunity, and he's got some weapons around him where he could probably do something. But yeah, to rely on something that's unproven, that's really risky. So I think his value is a little too high, but obviously the potential's there. So, I mean, you got to go with that as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't rely on him as my QB1 no matter what. But if you're like drafting for a QB1 of the future, obviously Joe's got it.
For sure. My overvalued quarterback is Kyler Murray. He's at QB3.
No, hold on a second. No, your overvalued quarterback was Joe Burrow.
Oh.
Mine is Kyler Murray. So
Oh.
I know you want to get a second dip here.
Oh,
I know you want to get a second dip here.
I cannot read. Okay, yours is Kyler Murray. Okay.
I know you want to get a second chance here because you did so bad. No. No, so, yeah, Kyler Murray's quarterback 3. I'm surprised because I'd rather have Watson, right? So, and I'm glad you agree with me because, I mean.
Anthony froze, so I guess
I understand
can talk about it.
Yeah, we lost you there.
Am I back?
You're back for now.
All right. I mean, I understand he has a lot of upside, and I know, it's a pass-heavy offense. But at the same time, I just think at 3, you're putting way too much faith in a guy who didn't really have an elite season. So I just think 3 is way too high. I'd rather have someone like Watson, someone who has a better track record than Murray. It kind of reminds me of what Jason just referred to, Baker Mayfield. I mean, he was getting taken like in this spot last year, and look how that turned out. There's just no need to take a risky player that high in a draft for a quarterback. And proof of that is Baker Mayfield last year. That's exactly why.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid point. I like his upside for rushing. The offense throws a lot. The kid's proven that he can throw the ball. So, the keys were given to him as a rookie, and he showed maturity, and he was a leader of the offense. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for the kid. It depends because he's so small, in my opinion, that he's gonna run and get to the outside, and someone's gonna pop him. But I mean, that could go with anyone. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I obviously think he's a little high too. I'd have put him behind at 6. Deshaun Watson. He's losing to Andre Hopkins. Still no reason that he's not going to be an effective quarterback. He also has running ability. Russell Wilson has good wide receivers. He's gotten some, we'll see what happens with his tight ends with Greg Olsen showing up, but he's always used the tight end well. He can run the ball a little bit, provide you some of that running. Dak Prescott can run a little bit. Plus, he's got probably the best pass catching options in the NFL this year. Where I'd slot him in is right ahead of Josh Allen, just because Josh Allen hasn't proven to be the most accurate yet. And they both have that running style. I think Kyler Murray's got the higher floor of those two and the higher ceiling. And so that's why I'm putting him ahead of Josh Allen. All right, now we can move on to our tight ends. I'm going to start reading the sheet better, hopefully, as we continue through this and not be skipping and stealing people's players.
That'll happen.
Yeah, but moving on to tight end, just looking at our top 12 tight ends on our RotoHeat ranks. George Kittle comes in at number 1. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews is number 3. Zach Ertz, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry at number 6. Noah Fant, the second-year tight end, at number 7. Then it's Austin Hooper, the old one-year tight end thus far, Darren Waller. And then another rookie in TJ Hawkinson at 10. Mike Gesicki at 11. And the second Eagles tight end, Dallas Goedert, rounds out our tight end 1 rankings at number 12. So looking at, first our undervalued players. Mine is going to be Dawson Knox, coming in at tight end 26, outside of the tight end 2 range, so a tight end 3, and another pretty highly touted second-year tight end. Got off to kind of a slow start last year, but I think he finished pretty darn strong. Josh Allen, I think, is going to look for him a little bit more this year now that they're more comfortable. I think he's got upside to finish as a tight end 1 in the future. This year I'm thinking he's for sure going to be a solid tight end 2. So to not have him in that range to me is just too low. Jason, thoughts on Dawson Knox?
No, I totally agree with you on the value for sure. He showed a lot of flashes, and the guy, they kind of draft him as a blocker, but he's actually shown more that he can catch a lot of passes. So being able to do both, you're going to be on the field and getting opportunities. So I really like Dawson Knox.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a great value. I have him on a lot of my teams as well, and I think that there is a lot of upside. I like what Buffalo's doing. I think they're going to be a really good team this year, and I think that Knox is going to be one of the beneficiaries for sure.
All right, Anthony, why don't you keep going there and give us your undervalued tight end?
Yeah, of course. At tight end 24, Jack Doyle. And I think, especially now with Ebron gone, Rivers in town, Rivers loves throwing to the tight end. He had all those years with Antonio Gates and, even Hunter Henry when he was on the field. So I just think Rivers to Doyle is going to be a phrase you hear a lot this year. And people think Jack Doyle is like this old. He's 30. He's only 30, and for a tight end, that's about their prime. Look at Kelsey and Ertz. Kind of the same age, and he's a very consistent player. I think to get him at tight end 24, I just think it screams value, and he's certainly a player I was targeting in a lot of startups this year, and I think you can get him pretty cheaply, especially if the team you're targeting or trying to get him from already has a tight end or two. I definitely think Jack Doyle should be a target of a lot of different people.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't see the value to moving him up the board. For me, you said he's 30. Well, Rob Gronkowski's 31 coming out of retirement. Travis Kelce's 30. Everybody's trying to sell him. Zach Ertz is about 30. Everybody's trying to sell him. Can he have a productive year? Yes. Is he worth drafting higher up the board? I don't think so. I don't think he has the upside anymore to finish as a top 6 tight end. And really, if you're not getting somebody who's going to be really a top 3, 4 tight end or has that upside, is it worth drafting him? That's what you're hoping for in most leagues are one tight end. If you're not tight end premium, tight ends have so little value unless they're one of those top 3 to 5 guys and I don't think Jack Doyle is that anymore. So I think he's right at his age to be at the back end of the tight end 2s. He'll still be production. He'll still be a streaming option, but he's not a guy worth drafting any higher to me. Jason, your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. There's not much competition there at the position at the Colts, but Rivers loves his tight ends. But you're not going to draft him at all. Like if you're going to pick him up, it's going to be on the waiver wire, or your last pick, in my opinion. But there is potential there. But I think he could produce, but I just don't think he's consistent enough.
Yeah, it's hard disagree from me. Hard disagree. So maybe we'll make a bet because Jack Doyle could easily be a tight end 1 this year, easily. So you're gonna take him at tight end 24 at back end of the tight end 2s. I think it's a no-brainer call.
Well, there is no tight end above him that I wouldn't rather have.
I'm telling you right now, Dawson Knox, and then the next guy Jason's going to get to, I'd rather have Jack Doyle 100%. No question about it.
Yeah, if I'm trying to totally fade the tight end position, then that's a guy that I would probably target, because he can produce for sure. But the consistency just isn't there for me.
I feel you.
All right, Jason, your undervalued tight end.
Mine is Jonnu Smith, tight end 17. He's very athletic tight end. The wide receiver room is really weak behind A.J. Brown, so I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity, and they're going to get him the ball because they're going to be running all the time with Henry, and then they're going to throw it up to A.J. Brown. But who else do they have besides that? They got really athletic tight end, and I think they're going to go for Jonnu Smith.
Anthony, thoughts on Jonnu?
Good pick. I worry about them not throwing the ball enough. I know they have A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, so Jonnu Smith is probably going to be the third option. So I don't know. It's a tight end, so you're not looking for a whole lot of upside anyway. Jonnu Smith does have, he's very athletic. I agree. He does have big play potential. I think we've seen that. I think it's a good pick. I just think he's going to be a little too inconsistent to start on a weekly basis, and that's why I would prefer more of the consistency with someone like Jack Doyle. But no, I think Jonnu Smith is a good pick.
Yeah, so I actually really like Jonnu Smith. He's probably one of my sleeper guys at the tight end position for me that I think can have a pretty solid breakout. I've liked him since he came into the league. Obviously, he's been behind Delaney Walker for a long time, but he showed that big play explosiveness last year. This year, he's going to have the opportunity to be the tight end one full year. I think he's going to have his numbers expand and have a much, much better year. And as we saw, the last 3 weeks of the year, he put up 160 yards, couple of touchdowns. So I think he's shown the potential to be able to handle a high volume for a tight end when he's had that chance. And I think he's explosive. He's also quick. He's kind of like that. I don't think he's Delaney Walker fast, but he's kind of that mold to be able to be a big play tight end. And so I really like him. I think the spot is pretty accurate, but he's a high upside guy for me. Moving and looking at our overvalued tight ends. Well, Anthony, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, I think my video's messed up. Can you guys still hear me okay, though?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So overvalued. I have O.J. Howard at tight end 15, and I'm shocked that he's this high, to be honest with you. And I made sure, Gronk, yeah, he's ranked right, so it wasn't like an issue of that. We had that factored in. He's a great blocking tight end. Unfortunately, blocking doesn't give you fantasy points. I think he's just way, way, way too high in the rankings. I'd put him behind everyone we just talked about in the last segment for the other tight ends. And I don't see a situation where I'm going to draft O.J. Howard myself. I don't. He's going to be behind Gronk at least this season. Even when he had the opportunity, he hasn't really, shown it. So, I mean, if you have the roster spot, yeah, if you want to put him on the back end of your bench, that's fine. See what happens. But I think just tight end 15 is just crazy overvalue myself.
Yeah, I agree. O.J. Howard doesn't belong in the top 2 tight ends. If you're starting one tight end in the league and not having a bunch of tight end flexes and no tight end premiums, I'm not even sure at this point for me if he'd be on a roster that I have. He was a free agent. I don't know that I'd pick him up. I don't think he's a streaming option right now. And maybe I'll be wrong, but he needs to start putting together some games before I'd even pick him up to stream. Jason, your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. Obviously, Gronkowski hurts a lot coming in, so until Gronk's back out of town or else he gets traded to a different team, then I really want nothing to do with O.J. Howard as a starting aspect. But obviously, the potential is there, and he's still young, so he's proven that he can play, and he's a really good blocker. So I think he's still going to be on the field no matter what. But you can't really rely on him to put up points for you.
All right, moving on to our running backs. And running through our top 24 at the running back position, our running back ones in order are Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Delvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, and Austin Eckler. And then our running back twos are Leonard Fournette at 13, followed by the rookies, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, then Kenyon Drake, J.K. Dobbins at 17, Melvin Gordon, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Montgomery, and Devin Singletary. So to start things off, why don't we go with undervalued? Anthony, let's start with yours.
Yeah, thank you. My undervalued running back is Kareem Hunt, and he's at running back 26, and I think he should be much, much, much higher, at least a running back 2. He's only 24. He turns 25 next month. Chubb, same team. He's 24. He turns 25 in December. So they're about the same age. They're going to have very similar years this year, I think, fantasy production-wise. Hunt's a free agent next year. So he's in a good spot to get to a better running back situation, without someone competing with like Nick Chubb. So I just think that he's screaming value at 26, and like I said, he turns 25 next month. People think he's older. He's not. He's a free agent next year, and he's probably going to still have a good season this year. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think he's not going to be a running back 2 this year. And at running back 26, he's outside of the running back 2s as it is. So I think he's extremely undervalued and someone that people should be getting.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to be an RB2 as well. So I'd say he's slightly undervalued as far as current year value. I agree that he's got an opportunity to go somewhere else and land in a situation where he doesn't necessarily have to split things up next year. But it's going to be an interesting market next offseason, and so I wouldn't want to invest too heavily on that risk. There's, 9 starting running backs, high caliber starting running backs that are going to be free agents this offseason. Plus, a pretty decent class coming in again. Najee Harris, Chuba Hubbard, Travis Etienne, leading a good solid 5 to 6 guys, Journey Brown, that are all going to be looking for spots as well out of the NFL draft. So, I think there's definitely a risk as far as hoping he's landing in a better situation and not still splitting work. He also has the past history, which is why he's with Chubb and splitting duties, why he got cut from the Chiefs. So, there's always a risk there. But I think it's feasible. He could land in a better situation. Definitely, running back 2 this year is definitely within question. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm all in on Hunt being the RB2 for sure. He's got a lot of upside too, that he can even put up RB1 numbers. So he's proven to be elite, and the talent is there. It's obviously just the opportunity kind of hurts him with Chubb being there as well, because they're going to feed him. But I mean, Kareem Hunt's going to be catching a lot of passes, and he's going to be on the field. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do this year and in the future.
Jason, why don't you continue and give us your undervalued running back?
Yeah, my undervalued is Mark Ingram, RB31. I think he still has plenty of tread on the tires, and they're just a run first offense. Dobbins kind of scares me a little bit. He's got a ton of potential, but I still think that they're going to rely on Ingram and give him the work early on and even into the postseason, because I still see them going there.
Yes, I think those two should almost be, side by side in the rankings, kind of high-end running back 3s, because I think they're going to eat from each other in that offense. I don't know that either one's going to, carry enough workload consistently to move into even where Dobbins is ranked at 17 or 16, excuse me. Plus, Mark Ingram going to be 31 in December, but he started to lose that efficiency last year late in the season. His yards per carry went down. He got less efficient. So I think having a young back there to split carries with is going to be helpful for him. Something he's done throughout his entire career, except for this year. But maybe that boosts his efficiency overall for the season. I do think he's a little bit low though, and agree with you there. Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys both. I think he's a little low, and I think people, take age too much into consideration. So I do think he should be a little bit higher. I agree with you guys.
All right, my undervalued running back is Le'Veon Bell, coming in at running back 22. He got 327 touches last year. Yeah, he only hit 3.27 yards per carry, I believe was the number. That was a horrible Jets team, but he's going to have the workload again. I imagine he's going to bring that number back up, probably have a better yards per carry. He also only scored 4 touchdowns, by far the fewest of his career. So he's going to get some positive regression in the touchdown category. He's got a chance to be a running back 1 still. If not a running back 1, I fully expect a high RB2 finish, top 15 finish from Le'Veon Bell. Anthony, thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, again, people factor age a little bit too much on these guys. I mean, Bell still has at least 2 years left, I think we'd all say. And, for a running back, that's you can't really ask for much more than that, to be honest. So I think he is undervalued right now. I agree.
Jason, your first overvalued running back, or your overvalued running back, I should say.
Yeah, overvalued would be Dalvin Cook, RB4. The main reason is he hasn't played a full season yet, and I don't see him doing so in 2020. I mean, he's got holdouts and injury concerns for sure. I'm a big Vikings fan, so I really hope he doesn't hold out, of course. But either way, they're going to be feeding him the ball, and so that even increases the risk of injury. So I don't know. I just really don't like him at his spot, but obviously he's proven to be one of the most elite backs in the league. So I just think that I'd rather fade him at this current moment because of the contract situation and injuries. So what do you guys think?
Well, he did report to camp today, so
Yes, he did.
that holdout, probably less likely. Although I was reading that reporting is really all that matters for that contract to move up, and there's nothing really to stop him from holding out further into camp at some point and not
Right.
having that year count on his contract. So that remains to be seen. Obviously, there's an injury risk with Cook. He misses some games, but when he's healthy, he's elite. I mean, he's one of the best, maybe the best pure running back in the league. I mean, he puts up some monster games. Minnesota's going to be a run-first offense. You understand when you're taking him at 4 that the risk of injury is there, in my opinion, but it's worth that gamble to me. Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. All of our picks are kind of similar in a sense. I mean, personally, when I do drafts, I wait for running backs because I see the value, like in the guys we talked about earlier. So if I have Cook, I'd probably sell him, at what his current value is, because I do think it is high. But I do think the upside's there, and if someone needs a running back, boy, I mean, I guess I agree. The risk of him holding out kind of kills that. So I don't know if you can sell him right now and get a return like that, at the running back 4 like type value. I think I agree with Jason. I think he's overvalued right now. But if he is playing, then no, I think he's ranked at the right spot.
My overvalued running back is Josh Jacobs. He comes in at running back 8, and it's purely he doesn't catch passes, and he only had 229 touches last year for Josh Jacobs. Spent time injured, never carried a workload like that in college. Um, excuse me, it was 242 rushes. He had 20 receptions, but he's not going to really exceed, I'd say 35 is probably his cap, given who they have. They brought in Lynn Bowden to be a pass-catching running back. They kept Jalen Richard to be the pass-catching running back. I mean, you have to catch the ball in a PPR league to have value, and he doesn't. And so I don't see him as a running back 1. Thoughts on that, Anthony?
Well, I see him as a running back 1. I think he's ranked in the right spot myself. I don't really feel too threatened by Bowden. And, Jacobs proved, I think he was a 3-down back outside of the injury I think it was his shoulder. I disagree in that sense. I think he's ranked at the right spot. I'm looking at the list of other running backs in that area, and I think he's in the right spot myself. So, I can see the argument for, like I said, all these guys we're talking about are a little overvalued, but when you compare him to the other running backs in that spot, I'd rather have Jacobs over like Derrick Henry, for example. So, I don't know. I think he's in the right spot if I had to stick with something.
Yeah. I really like Jacobs a lot. He's a great running back. He really proved it at being so young and being a first round running back, which is kind of rare now these days. I think that the sky's the limit for the kid. I don't think that they really relied on him to catch the ball at all last year. That they had Richard, so I think they're just going to phase him into it, and I think he's eventually going to get up there and start catching a lot of passes and getting the volume. So I think the sky's the limit for the kid.
Anthony, you're overvalued running back.
Miles Sanders, running back 10. So kind of like what we're talking about, these top end guys, you can kind of wait for running backs and get someone at a better value. My issue with Sanders is just that, Philly always has the committee approach at running back. So you're not really going to get like a 3-down back with Miles Sanders. I don't believe. And so, to take him as a top 10 running back, I don't know. I don't see it. I just think it's a little bit overvalued. I wouldn't peg him too far down my rankings, but I wouldn't have him top 10. No way.
Jason?
I mean, I like where he's at. I think people are kind of overpaying for him right now. But, I mean, the kid's showing explosiveness. He's caught a lot of balls, and they're putting him to work, and I think they're going to really rely on him. But who knows if he can really, hold up to that, workhorse kind of back. I don't think that, the coaching staff's going to really ask him to either way. But I think the overall workload is going to be, pretty even, and he's going to be on the field more than not. So, I really like Sanders.
I think he is valued where he should be right now. And that's because, yes, you're correct that Doug Peterson uses the running back by committee, but they haven't brought anybody in yet to compete with him, to steal touches from him. Boston Scott is your auxiliary back. He is not going to be competing for those main touches with Miles Sanders. And until they bring in a Devonta Freeman or somebody who's going to be truly competing for Miles Sanders touches, I think he's in the right spot. We saw last year Jordan Howard half the year in front of him. Miles Sanders still finished as running back 15. So he's not moving down too far, probably into the middle running back 2s if he gets competition. But I think running back 1 is definitely a possibility the way the current roster currently stands. Moving on to our wide receivers. Taking a look at our top 24 list. Of course, we've got Michael Thomas, number 1. DeAndre Hopkins is number 2. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin at number 5, followed by his teammate Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Golladay, Amari Cooper, and A.J. Brown rounding out the top 12. Julio Jones kicks off the wide receiver 2s. Then Cortland Sutton, Allen Robinson, Kelvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, DJ Shark, DK Metcalf. CeeDee Lamb comes in at number 22. Robert Woods and Tyler Lockett rounds out our top 24. Based on that and our full rankings, Anthony, who's your undervalued wide receiver?
Yeah, I have for undervalued T. Higgins, rookie for the Bengals, wide receiver 43. I have this guy in the first round of rookie drafts. I think he kind of profiles kind of like A.J. Green, who is obviously on the Bengals as well. But Higgins has, wide receiver 1 upside. And to get him as a wide receiver 4, I think it's kind of crazy that he's this low in our rankings, and I would jump all over that if I was drafting and he was just sitting there. I just think that T. Higgins needs to be higher in our rankings. I hope they're watching. They got to get him up there.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins definitely has that ability. As far as looking at this, if you were looking at this season where he's going to finish, I'd say that's an overvalue. But taking his, trying to mix that potential of long term versus what you're going to get out of him this year and maybe even next year, depending on what happens with AJ Green next offseason, it might be a pretty good value point. I do like his upside. I think he's got a chance to be what AJ Green has been throughout his career. 100% agree. I don't know that I can really move him around though too much in that ranking as far as overall right now. Maybe a slight bump, but I don't know where that I'd move him much higher.
Right now on our rankings, AJ Green is ranked higher, Will Fuller's ranked higher, T.Y. Hilton's ranked higher. I don't understand how someone like T. Higgins with that much upside could be that low on the rankings myself. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common though. You see the vets, even the aging ones, they get a lot of credit even when they're breaking down over rookies in the overall ranks, and maybe that's something as an industry fantasy people got to be more aware of and be willing to look longer term at when it comes to making their dynasty ranks versus their 1 year ranking. But based on the way the current status quo of it, I think it's an okay spot, maybe slightly low. Jason, your thoughts?
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, he's probably right where he should be, but I'd kind of give him a little bump in ADP if I was trying to target him as a potential wide receiver, 2 or 3 or whatever for the future. I don't know if he has the elite talent, but we'll see. I mean, he's kind of a proven player, but they took him really early, and he's going to have plenty of opportunity because we don't really know exactly what we have in AJ Green. So I really like him.
Jason, why don't you continue with your undervalued player?
Yeah, it's Robert Woods, wide receiver 23. I just think he should be ranked along with Cooper Kupp. The guy's produced, over and over. And he just constantly gets disrespected by the fantasy community, in my opinion. So I really like the way he plays the game, and they traded Brandon Cooks, so I think the sky's the limit for Robert Woods too, because he's shown a lot of flashes and scored a lot, and he produces.
Well, I agree that he catches a lot of balls, which makes it valuable in PPR, puts up good yardage. Where I would argue is he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns. His career high is 6. He's not really been a red zone threat. He seems to be more that possession type receiver where, in the middle of the field where Cooper Kupp kind of goes all over the field. And so that's why I'd have Cooper higher. But I definitely think he's a perennially undervalued player. I think a lot of folks still look at what was kind of his disappointment maybe the first couple of years when him and Sammy Watkins were both kind of disappointing early in Buffalo, and neither were really exceeding or beyond their expectations for what they thought in year 1 or year 2. And I think as a result, he's just been people have always said his ceiling really low, and so I definitely think he's got upside potential to score more touchdowns, but he's got to do it. I mean, 6 touchdowns in 2018 being his most. I mean, touchdowns are important too.
Yeah, no, I think it's just more product of his environment. So I just see him having a really big year and plenty of opportunities. So I'm pretty excited about Woods. Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with you guys. I worry about his age. I mean, he's 28 years old, so to draft him as a wide receiver 2, I don't know. I think I'd go for someone younger with more upside. Not maybe T. Higgins, but I mean, I can think of a number of guys I'd rather have kind of in that range. Like Ridley, Sutton. So I mean, I think he's ranked kind of at the right spot myself. I don't think he's undervalued myself.
All right, my undervalued wide receiver is Tyler Boyd. He's 29th on our rankings. He's finished as a top 18 wide receiver the last 2 years. If you look at his stats from 2018, he's better with AJ Green on the field than without him. Last year he had horrible quarterback play. He caught 90 balls. He's also got a well, I shouldn't say that. They've got a tough cornerback matchup this year for the Bengals. But long term, I mean, I like him. When AJ Green moves on, T. Higgins is going to fill that role. So if he's good, and if T. Higgins lives up to that hype that Anthony had on him, and he fills that AJ Green role, then that means there's no drop off from his best statistical production in the last 2 years, which was with that AJ Green type player on the field. Anthony, your thoughts?
100% agree with you. I think that he's proven, he can do it even when Green or other people are on the field. And like what you said, with a bad quarterback, I mean, now if Burrow can be really good, even average, I think Boyd is in a good spot. So I agree 100%.
Jason, anything to add?
No, I totally agree. I like Tyler Boyd. I think he's, kind of underrated, if anything, kind of under the radar kind of guy that you want to keep your eye on. So he's definitely a good wide receiver too. He's consistent. The opportunity is going to be there again. Obviously they brought T. Higgins in, but they got AJ Green, and then, someone's going to have to step up. I think it's going to be Tyler Boyd because he's the proven and healthy one right now.
For sure. Moving into our overvalued, Anthony, why don't you kick us off there?
Yeah, please. I have Juju Smith-Schuster. He's at wide receiver 8, and I'm just blown away again at this ranking. I mean, I understand he's young. I understand the upside. I get it. But even when he did really well with Ben Roethlisberger a couple years ago, I mean, he had Antonio Brown there. You know, last year as the starting wide receiver 1 on their team, he underperformed, uh, dreadfully underperformed. And I know you're going to say, well, because of their quarterback. Look, Roethlisberger, how old is this guy? 38. He's not going to be around forever. So even if it's just the quarterback argument, I don't buy it. I just think 8 is way, way, way too high. I mean, shoot, over Juju, I'd rather have Galladay, Allen Robinson. I'd even consider taking Julio Jones at his age over Juju myself. I understand he's young. I understand there's some upside there. I'm just not feeling it at 8, especially. I'm just not feeling it.
I think there's a lot of questions with Juju. Can he produce as that alpha to the extreme that he did with Antonio Brown? So far, he hasn't had the opportunity to do that between his own injury and Ben Roethlisberger's injury. There's also the questions of whether he stays with the team past this season. And, we've seen it with a lot of Pittsburgh wide receivers. They get out of that system and they don't produce the same way they have in the past. So there's definitely a lot of questions there. I agree he's too high for those reasons. And and I also like they've got 3 pretty decent young wide receivers. DeAndre Washington, I think, being the bottom of that barrel. Chase Claypool's got some potential. Deontay Johnson, he looks like he could be special. Jason, your thoughts?
I think he's a little too high, but the kid's still got a lot of potential, and he's a proven player. I think Ben Roethlisberger being hurt really hurt him because he didn't have anyone to sling him the ball. That really hurts. So I mean, you can go from one of the most elite wide receiver quarterback combos out there, and one guy gets hurt, and then he kind of just falls off. Basically, is what happened to him. But I mean, he's still really young. He's a really promising player. He's proven that he can get open, get in space. I think he's got a lot of potential still. So I mean, people are kind of relying on him kind of a little too much, but I would put him more in a wide receiver 2 spot. But still, he's really young. He's got plenty left.
All right, why don't you continue us with your overvalued wide receiver?
Yeah, my guy is Michael Gallup, wide receiver 34. I just think he's getting picked over some players that I'd much rather have that have even higher potential. They brought in, CeeDee Lamb. I think he immediately takes over as the wide receiver 2. That's just my opinion because obviously the rookies are going to have, a tougher time getting adjusted to an offense. But I still think Gallup's going to be on, he's going to be following in CeeDee Lamb's step and trying to compete with him for targets. What do you guys think?
I agree. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. 100%. I agree with Cooper and Lamb coming in. I don't see where Gallup is going to get. I like who's their tight end, Blake Jarwin. I think he's going to be in the mix too. Zeke gets so much love. I agree 100%. I don't get Gallup. I mean, I did a startup. Gallup was taken before, a lot of these guys we're talking about, like T. Higgins, for example, and I don't get it myself. I agree 100%. The upside isn't there for me, and I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you. I think he's where he should be, and maybe even a little low. I think this Dallas wide receiver trio, all 3 of them have a chance to be 100 yard or 1,000 yard pass catchers in this offense. This Mike McCarthy offense, if you remember back early in around 2010, Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers were having 3-4 wide receivers producing at high levels all the time. James Jones was the wide receiver 3 on the Packers, was easily producing wide receiver 2 numbers. and putting up numbers that a lot of teams starting running back or starting wide receivers, their wide receiver one couldn't put up. I think that this trio might is as good and might be more talented than the trio that the Packers had at that time. And that's just coming from a Packers fan. The guy who takes the biggest hit by drafting CeeDee Lamb is not Michael Gallup. It's Blake Jarwin's potential. He goes from being possibly the third pass catching option to probably being fifth behind Elliott. So that's what I see. I think all three of these wide receivers could catch 1,000 balls. They're all going to play all three wide receiver positions. They all have that ability, and they can be played interchangeably. You can line up Cooper in the slot one time, then Gallup, then Lamb. They can all move around. So it's going to be all about matchup play, where these guys can go. I think they're all in for special seasons coming up. My guy to round out our overvalued players is Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 11. I know Stephon Diggs is a good route runner. He's fast, all that. The problem here is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's an inaccurate quarterback. Josh Allen is a highly ranked fantasy quarterback because of his legs, not because of what he does throwing the deep ball. And that's what Stephon Diggs is going to need. I think wide receiver 18 is too much. Stephon Diggs is already inconsistent. He's already proven to be a diva. I think it gets worse because as far as pass catching goes, he's got a worse quarterback than he did in Minnesota. Jason, you're a Viking fan. You see a downgrade there in quarterback as well. Do you see a challenge?
Oh, I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's a big downgrade because Kirk Cousins was hitting him in stride, but I don't think Allen's going to be able to do that. I really don't. I think they're going to get lucky and hit on a few, of course, but I just really don't like what happened with Stephon when he signed his big contract and he turned into this big diva, and he forced his way off of the team. I mean, it's not something I'd want as being a teammate of another teammate. It's just really ugly, and I really hope he doesn't bring it to Buffalo. But the guy is really talented. I really like his talent overall. He's a great wide receiver, and the guy shows up to play every week. So I think we'll have to see with him. I just really don't like his demeanor at all.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And I think that's kind of cool. We're going to end the show, agreeing. But I agree. I agree with what Rob and his, like what Jason said with demeanor and all that. Was he wearing, cleats with memes and stuff? Like, dude, get your head in the game, So I agree 100%.
All right. We want to remind everybody out there watching or listening, make sure you like and subscribe RotoHeat on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you can get all of our great YouTube content. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check us out on YouTube. It is well worth it. We got content dropping all the time. The player outlooks that Jay Wall and Brad put together. It's very good stuff dropping for us. Taking a look at some questions we got here. Josh Wheaton says he's being a commissioner for the first time. Does he open up his free agency using the usual waiver wire period tomorrow morning, or wait until the first week before the season? For first-time leagues, for me, for new drafts, I like to have teams kind of sit and play with that team. Maybe look at trades and stuff rather than hitting free agency right away. And so that first season, I like to keep it locked a little bit longer. So I probably wouldn't do it right away tomorrow morning, considering it sounds like they just wrapped up here tonight. Anthony, your thoughts?
Well, if the draft just finished, then I would definitely just lock it at least a week. Talk to the guys and see what they prefer to do. Don't just unlock it. Half the league may not even know it's going to be unlocked. I think that's just kind of shady. So I would certainly lock it, keep it locked, talk to the guys, see what you want to do. Personally, I like weekly waiver rolls in the off season. Kind of gives everyone a chance to get who they want on a weekly basis. I understand what Rob said if you want to just keep it locked throughout the off season. But I don't know. I prefer to keep it kind of open myself.
All right. Jason, you got anything to add?
No, I totally agree with you guys. I mean, if it's a newer league, then just, lock it and make sure you set the rules and make sure everyone understands. So everyone has a fair chance at free agency, because you don't want that one guy popping on and be like, hey, why didn't I get notified about these chances to pick up these guys? Then you got to answer a ton of questions with him and the rest of your league. So it just gets ugly if you do that kind of stuff. Like I said, just make sure you guys set the rules and go off of that.
For sure. Travis Thompson sends us a trade question here. He's got a half PPR tight end premium Dynasty League, and he's getting offered Lamar Jackson for Carson Wentz, Cam Akers, and a 2021 first. He says I deliberately drafted a super young team during the startup and plan to punt this year. Well, I'll tell you right now, Lamar Jackson for Wentz, Akers, and a 2021 first to me is great value, given that Lamar is going to get you all those running points, and I would take that deal. You're getting a solid quarterback one, or you're giving up a solid quarterback one, but Lamar's better. You're giving up a guy who we think can be a running back one, and you're giving up another first. I mean, to me, that's right. That's maybe a little light for what I'd want if I was trading Lamar Jackson. So I think that's a good deal there.
What was the trade again? It was Lamar Jackson for Wentz, a 21 first, and what was the last piece?
Yeah, Travis would be giving up Wentz, Akers, and a 2021 first for Lamar Jackson. Yep.
It is a one quarterback league, right?
He doesn't specify, but
okay. Well, if it's a super flex, then I'd go with Lamar. But in a one quarterback league, it's really funny. I did a very similar trade in one of my leagues. I traded Wentz and 2 firsts for Mahomes. And I know if Ricky was on tonight, he'd say, he'd prefer the Wentz and the first and the Akers, I would imagine.
It is a super flex, by the way.
If it's a super flex, I like Lamar. I like Lamar there. The quarterback is just too valuable. Wentz, they drafted. I'm blanking on
Hurts.
Yeah, Hurts, and I don't know. I in a super flex, I like Lamar there.
All right, Jason, which side do you like?
Oh yeah, I like Lamar, but obviously you'd be giving up a ton of value. That's really tough because Wentz, he's up and down with the injuries, but he's still an elite quarterback that can put up just as many points or keep up with Lamar, and then you're giving up the running back and the first, so that's kind of a lot to give up. But I like Lamar for his overall potential and what he does on the ground, and just in that offense, he's putting up a ton of points.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I got here for us tonight. Before we sign off, why don't you guys let folks know once again where they can find you on RotoHeat. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm all over the Facebook page. Like I said before, just tag me. You can DM me, hit me up. If you have a trade question, I'm happy to help out anytime.
Yeah, same here. All over the Facebook and Discord. If you guys haven't checked out Discord, check that out. We're on, Twitter and TikTok, Instagram. We got it going on here this year, and we're excited.
And I'm on the Twitter at RotoHeat Rob, the Discord and the Facebook when I can get there. Just like these guys said, make sure you check us all out. Also check out the Patreon account for RotoHeat. RotoHeat patreon.com/RotoHeat. If you like the content we're putting out and you have the ability, and can support us in any way, please do that. The Discord, Facebook, all that stuff's free. Our YouTube, shows here are free, so come on out, check us out. We got shows every night of the week. Tomorrow will be the Fantasy Inferno, the Devy Hours on Thursday, the DFS show. What's that? The Pyromaniacs will be on Friday. And of course, you got your IDP, Dynasty HeatSeekers on Mondays. So lots of great content. Again, that Discord, rotoheat.com/Discord. And and I had the Patreon backwards. It's rotoheat.com/Patreon. Also, again, the Dynasty RotoHeat Facebook page. There's also a redraft RotoHeat Facebook page. So check out all of those. That's going to wrap us up on our overvalued and undervalued players at every position tonight. Thanks, guys, for joining me, and thank you all for watching and or listening to this edition of the Heat Seekers from RotoHeat.com.
Don't forget, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any more fantasy football content from the RotoHeat.com team. Also, right there, playlist. Hit it. Watch the videos. Do it. You want to. Do it.